Welcome to a new episode of the Amista podcast, First Sip, then Sup. In this episode, we're diving into one of the most talked about topics in our industry today, artificial intelligence. AI is everywhere, in your newsfeed, in boardroom discussions, in vendor roadmaps, and probably already in your organization in one way or another. But here's the real question. Is AI actually delivering value? Or are we still stuck somewhere between hype and hesitation? My name is Cenens. I'm an SAP mentor. I'm a SAP Demo Jam winner in AI, and I'm an international speaker. Over the past years, I've been working at the intersection of SAP, data and AI, not just experimenting, but building real solutions that connect AI to enterprise systems in a secure and scalable way. What fascinates me most is this: AI only becomes powerful when it truly understands your business context. Today, I'm joined by someone who shares that same obsession with making AI actually work in the real world, which is Wouter. Welcome. Can you introduce yourself?
Thank you for having me, Tom. Super cool, something completely different than our YouTube channel. I'm Wouter Lemaire, just like you, also an SAP mentor. I'm an independent consultant, and I'm working very close with you and Amista, especially when it comes to AI, because I strongly believe AI, we need to work together to bring this to our customers, because it goes super fast and it's super valuable, also when it comes to innovation. For my background, I started as an ABAP developer, but you know this, Tom, and I jumped early on UI5, which made me one of the early full stack developers. I don't like the name, but in the end, we covered the full stack, so that's why I'm saying full stack. And that made me grow into an architect and leading innovation. And that's what I still try to do today. I love combining development with architecture and innovation. Now, the real challenge today is, and that's what I've been thinking and working with you on the last year, is how can we bring AI and into the world of SAP? Because using ChatGPT without SAP, it's not giving any value to our business.
We were talking about it earlier already. What about your daily AI usage? You know that I'm a big fan of Claude AI. I think I played around with it already in the past, in the beginning. And then we talked about it as well over there. So what day-to-day usage do you have right now?
I think AI today, it's amazing and incredible what you can do with it today. But it's the way on how you use it. Let's be honest, a year ago, I think you had to convince me to use cloud. And now I use it day to day. If you even look back at 1 year ago, I was working day and night, let's say, but running behind everything. I'm still working day and night, but now I'm running ahead of things. And that's thanks to the power of AI. Let's say also a year ago, when you asked something to AI, it was not always correct. You still had to think yourself, and today we also still have to think ourselves. But if you combine the tools like with MCP servers, like MCP server from Maren that connects to SAP documentation, you can improve and enrich the knowledge of an AI agent with SAP documentation. And that gives you, in a few seconds, you can search across the full documentation based on your questions and your prompts. And it's the combination of those different tools. And like a ChatGPT without the connection to SAP documentation will not help us. But cloud connected with an MCP server, SAP documentation, it helps me a lot. Same for Cloud Code. If you can combine this with MCP servers officially released from SAP, it can be used for building applications. And you just need to think about the architecture, on the design, on the value that it brings. But the coding-wise, it increases your productivity.
You could say that AI is not magic. It still needs human interaction. That's an important one as well. And like you say, it's also about context. If you just do a search, you will get hallucinations, and it will go outside of a certain context. And I think there, indeed, you have things like MCP, which can get your AI to stay in a certain context and get much better results. So I think that's really interesting to hear as well.
Yeah, it's also a good point to raise. It's it can hallucinate, it knows a lot, but it's indeed still AI. It's not perfect. But it's a combination of the knowledge that we already have based on our experience. And if we combine that with AI, we can guide AI to do things the correct way. But we don't have to execute everything step by step. We can give, for example, code examples, how to make an application on BTP, like I want to do something with this, and then you give examples, and it will do everything around it. So if we give the guidance based on our experience combined with the knowledge of AI, it speeds up our day-to-day work. And that's also what I strongly believe. If it already improves my day-to-day work, it should also improve the work in enterprises, in companies. Also their business, if they integrate this in their business process, it will also improve the day-to-day job of their employees.
Okay, Wouter, so we have been building a product on top of MCP that can connect to SAP. So I would like to go back to the origin of that story and how we got started on that. Can you elaborate on how we got started?
Yeah, I think like we both saw the challenge at companies. Okay, we saw the benefit of cloud or ChatGPT and how it could help us. But we wanted to look how can we do something and combine it with SAP. I think it started as fun, and we started discussing about MCP and the possibilities during DCOM, which is the SAP internal event we yearly attend as SAP mentors. But that's where it started boiling, and there we learned about MCP, we discussed about the possibilities. And for me, then it really started during my vacation. So I couldn't let go of the idea of what we could do with MCP. And there was even somebody in the community that made like this as a CAP plugin for making an OData in MCP, sir. And I was thinking, what if we could do the same, but like more generic for the full S4HANA system or ECC system and enabling all the APIs? And I made like this prototype during the vacation. I can also say that the wife was not very happy with it, but in the end, it turns out well. But so after vacation, I called you and I said, "Hey Tom, look what I've done." And yeah, there you also know from how it went.
Yeah. Yeah, but was that a rest vacation, or what kind of vacation was that, or what kind of vacation was that supposed to be? Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I went on the last vacation, which was a rest vacation, I read books on the platform revolution, and so yeah, it's not working, but it's still a little bit connected to the work, of course. But yeah, that can also be resting, or having fun, of course.
I always say if it's your hobby or your passion, you never go on vacation.
Yeah, like you mentioned, even at DCOM already, we started discussing around AI. And there were also prototypes on MCP there. And I think also, like you mentioned, from a community perspective, we know a lot of people, of course. We're in the mentor group, so a lot of those things are discussed in there. And then we have the broader community, we have events. So you could say it's a bit, there is a book written about it, The Power of Pull. When you have community and you have different members all across the globe and you start discussing things, that you can also pick up stuff from each other. And in the end, it becomes IDs, and IDs turn into products.
Yeah, exactly. It's diversity, different IDs, different things. If that comes together and you can put it off into a product, that's what kind of happened here as well. And yeah, then we were also, after my vacation, I came to you and I said, that's what I did. Then we said, okay, we should bring this to all the customers. And then we came up like making it a SaaS product. And that's how we went to what we have today.
Yeah, I think I was directly enthusiastic about it, the idea. So I started testing what you have built and trying to push the limits and see how far we could get. Because of course, when we talk about AI, there is the question: do you need to use AI or not? That's one question. The other question is, of course, what are the limits of AI, and can we push those boundaries? Because that's still, in my opinion, it's still in a sense early days in terms of AI, and it's only there are limits to what you can do with AI.
Yeah, you were indeed the one who pushed me, or the one who really tested the tool to the full potential. And even beyond that, some of the functionality came based on what you tested it out. I think I do not even have done it tested it as much as you have done. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we then look at, it started as an experiment, you could say, as fun, as a hobby, but then we both saw the potential, and then we said, okay, we need to go further with this. And we also saw how we can actually connect it to the enterprise customers in a secure way and get everything sorted in that sense. So can you explain what the next steps were then in terms of what we would do with the product?
You mean like from here on, or what we back then?
Yeah, back then, in terms of saying, let's productize this, we need to go further with this.
Yeah, so for me, one of the first steps was like, the very first version has no security or whatsoever. So that was for me like, okay, Tom, you were testing what the potential was, and at the same time was looking, okay, how can I fix security? And once that was in place, how can we make it stable before making it product? Because the very first version, it was really on the fly, and when it was down, everything was gone. Like adding a database, adding a UI, making it user-friendly, and making it even that it can be used without a developer. And that's also where the power relies. That's what we tried to do from in the beginning, make something that can be managed by a key user is maybe too optimistic, but a functional analyst should be able to configure it because he knows the data behind it and he can configure it. But from there, we also wanted to make it a SaaS-enabled product, bring it to BTP. So that are the things we did further from there. But we also, you said, okay, those APIs are maybe not working. And then we started fine-tuning. How can we improve the results? By adding a layer of hints and instructions. But also those IDs are the IDs coming from community, for example. In the CAP plugin, they also work with hints. So it's not that I stole the ID, let's say. We didn't steal it, but we learn from each other in the SAP community. And that's what... it happens here as well. AI goes super fast, as I said before. And we need to learn, we need to help each other to make good products here for AI.
Yeah. So one of the things we did was publish it on the SAP store.
Yeah.
So that went relatively quickly, I think, but because it was well thought out. I think also we were already having a good architecture and everything was in place. But then, we are both quite technical persons, of course.
Yeah.
So then we said, we should do something about getting this to the market and scaling it and so on. And that's where, you could say we took a next step.
Yeah, that's where Amistad joined. And I think this is exactly what we need just on time. We're in a phase that we can, it's a stable product. It's proven that it works. What the potential it has, we know it, we've seen it. And now we need to scale it and roll it out further on from here on and providing support to customers. For me, what's important, we also need to protect personally what's important. I want to do innovation and not doing day-to-day support. Although I love to work on the product, don't get me wrong, but I want to now see the next steps of the product. And I think here Mista plays an important role. On the one hand, to scale it to a lot of customers, but also providing the support, the guarantee that the product will have a roadmap and guarantee that the customers will get the support that they deserve.
Yeah, I really think that going to Amista was a good step for us and the product as well in terms of they already do a lot in terms of BTP, so they're known for their BTP work, for example. They're also active in S4HANA, be it maybe more into the new areas of S4HANA compared to what we were doing before. But they also have they also resell M-Files, for example, which handles documents and data. And then they also have an analytics branch. And getting all of those things together, they also have a company that handles master data, for example. So all of this is present within the group, which is ideal for AI, of course, because you need proper data. You can use it beyond what we are doing right now. So we already have plans and we're already looking into doing more than what we can do today. And I think we have a great foundation to be able to even do more than what we do today. So I think that's really a positive and a good good home for the product.
I believe so as well. And yeah, just wanted to add one more thing. It's not that I'm saying you don't have sales skills, Tom. I just think, now you can focus on what you like, and that's more technical, of course.
Yeah. No, even there, I think it's also, we're not really salespersons. So I think that's also good that we have support from sales in that sense, and that we can focus more on the technology and pushing the boundaries and seeking those limits, what we were already doing. I think that's where the both of us are good at doing those things. And I also look forward to the next generation of the product and really getting customer panels started and getting the feedback from the customers who are actively using it, and then improving it further down the road. So I think there we're really good.
And we also received here some feedback of current customers that are trying it out, let's say. And it's interesting to see how they are using it. I've seen how you try to use it by creating dashboards and really pushing it to the limits, but also interesting to learn from the customers how they use it and what they try to do with it, because that will help us to improve it and look into what can we add to it, how can we make it grow, how can we make it better. And therefore, I think more customers will have more insights, and the customer panel is something super interesting to learn from that.
Yeah. So in preparation of this podcast, we also asked, we have a WhatsApp group with a number of mentors and champions, like which are burning topics or questions that you have around AI. And then we already tackled some of them, but of course, you see it in the same kind of question pops up, of course. One of them is security and data. Where does your data reside? So that's a typical question. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that in terms of how you see that?
I can say, it's not the responsibility of the MCP server. that's an answer, a professional answer, but really to be clear and in detail, the MCP server is just like a gateway. It's on the one hand side, there are queries coming in from the agent, and the MCP server converts it to OData and it goes to your backend. We have some monitoring in just to improve the tool and so on, but it's anonymized, so we don't see any data in there. Of course, in the MCP server, we could do what we want, but we don't. There is, on top of the MCP server, also a custom agent for playing around with it and testing how it's working, but that's just optional. If you don't use that agent, it's not using an LLM, so there is no data. Of course, depending on the agent that you use and the LLM, we don't know what happens with that data. We do know on paper, but officially, behind the scene, you never know. If you have your private models, you're safe. And that should be the setup. I think if you go for Copilot, you can host your private models and you can link this with Copilot, and then you're completely secure with the MCP server. So your data will not go in any public LLM. Of course, if you use ChatGPT, let's say, as an example, we don't know what happens. Officially, they do not use it for training when it comes from MCP server. But you don't know for sure. And data is one aspect, in my opinion. The other aspect is also security. When you connect to the MCP server, you want to have this. You don't want to have this on the public internet. You need to be authenticated, and that's where we integrate this, implemented the OAuth 2 flow. So you really have single sign-on and over BTP via the cloud connector to your backend. And that's why BTP is a very important aspect to enable this principal propagation. But now I cover two topics, authentication and your data.
Yeah, we used SAP technology to bring that safety of you're using your actual user of SAP to reach the data. Yeah. That's one aspect of it. Yeah, the other one is indeed depending on your AI client. In fact, if it's you should not use it on a free version of LLM, in fact, because then you don't know what happens.
No. But you had contact with Cloud?
Yeah, I asked Claude, Anthropic, and they stated, but of course I do have you do have settings there. You can maintain those settings. and then they state that it is not used for learning.
Yeah, I
But it
disabled.
depends on your subscription, I guess. And it's also, if you give a thumbs up or thumbs down in terms of feedback in the AI client, then they do have your data because you're giving feedback to them. So it's not carved in stone, because then it depends on what your end user is doing. So in that sense, I can understand that customers might be more willing to use Microsoft Copilot, for example, because they have a bigger trust level there, because it's also more in tune with what they're doing in their enterprises. But as such, it's not a problem, but it's something to look into, of course, from a customer perspective.
I think from a company perspective, it's important to look into your setup. And that's also what I experienced. That's one of the reasons the adoption of AI is slow. Security, data, data-wise, and security. The companies really want to be sure that their data is not going into any public LLM, or they cannot be hacked because of AI or LLMs. But it's, on the one hand side, important to look into this from a company perspective. But on the other hand side, it's slowing us down. And I think with AI, the possibilities to improve your business processes is already far beyond what we are using today. So there are much more capabilities available. But of course, we need to do it in a secure way. And I completely follow in this strategy. And I think there we also can help from a strategical point of view. You have already a lot of experience with Anthropic, with testing with Copilot, and that experience can be shared. Because you also mentioned that with Copilot and using the cloud LLMs, the results are already much better.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you compare research from 2025 to new research, then Microsoft Copilot has been doing a lot better. And Microsoft in general, with their tooling and their capabilities, they have gained traction, and they're getting much better scores than before. So now the capability of using the cloud models in the background also helps when it comes to MCP, because Anthropic is the original creator of MCP. They came up with the concept. They're also working on it, of course. So I see in those models, the results are similar in terms of what I can do with Claude as a client. So I think also there, and that goes back to the other areas then, in terms of being able to use also your documents as part of the solution and so on. So you can connect to multiple things. You can even connect also Microsoft Copilot now with Joule AI of SAP. So there is this agent-to-agent protocol, which can be used to connect agents to each other. And that's interesting because, from an enterprise perspective, many of them are accustomed to using Teams, for example. And then you can stay within your Teams, and you can still go to all these different systems and AIs, where otherwise you would have multiple UIs, which is usually not really the preference of users to go into different AIs, different UIs, of course. I think also there, I see also an uptake in terms of customers that are actually getting started with AI and really rolling it out, and now training their employees in terms of using AI. But many are still in the early phase, I would say. I think we will also see a little bit of what we saw with BTP, that in the beginning customers are maybe less aware of governance and administration and the need for it. And that's also something where we have experience with BTP, where we have done a lot of, you could say, evangelism in terms of presenting that and putting attention on it, that you do need to take care of that, and you do need to take that into account.
Yeah, indeed, governance is again here important. It's just like with BTP. But I also wanted to come back to the Copilot. I also believe like having it in Teams, it's straightforward, it's common sense. Like in cloud, we can have those dashboards. And I remember you said, with Copilot, I can also now create dashboards. But what is exactly your workaround in Copilot now?
Yeah, you can use Copilot Studio to create custom agents. And then you have also workflow capabilities. So there you can do things like generate a dynamic HTML file and then push it to your OneDrive or to a SharePoint location or something like that. So there are more options to also generate files. Even Word, Excel, PowerPoint should be possible. I still have to test it, but it's possible today. which we already do with Claude, but with Microsoft Copilot, it will also be possible to do that. And then that's interesting from an end user perspective, I think, in terms of generation.
Yeah, and I think that's also interesting because we see Copilot is catching up on things. They're also improving it. The AI will improve. Also, Joule will improve. All those different agents, maybe today, like we have the leaders like Anthropic and OpenAI, but we see that Copilot is catching up on those things. And now they're also having dashboards, being able to, although it's in OneDrive, it's already nice that we can even generate dashboards with Copilot.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we covered a lot of ground here today already. So maybe as an outro, Wouter, what would your advice be? So how can a customer get started today?
I would say just start today. Start with small steps. You hear very often that big AI projects fail, but I don't know the full context of those projects, but I just think it's because they try too big. Start small and learn from each small step you make. And every time you can adapt, improve. And just start small, but start today. Because I believe the impact of AI can improve your business processes. The longer you wait, the more you get behind. If you are in a competition, your competitors will be ahead of you if they start using AI and you don't. Of course, there is security and governance. You need to sort it out. But do it, don't try to make it perfect. And you need to grow and you need to learn, but start today. That's my main message. And on the long term, I think for SAP, Joule will also become better. Today, we see that it's not as far as Copilot or Anthropic or ChatGPT, but it will get better because AI makes everything easier to improve and it will go faster. We are mainly focusing now on assistance, but you have also really embedded use cases. Also, that start with it today. You can use in BTP AI Core to build your own scenario. You can create custom agents in Joule, custom skills. That are things you can already do today. So, main message is just start now.
Yeah, all right. Thanks, Wouter, for being on the podcast. It was a lot of fun, I would say. So I will see you on the next time.
Thank you for having me, Tom.
All right. Thank you for watching or listening to the podcast. This is First Sip, then SAP.